Jiho wiped the black grease from his calloused hands with an old rag that had seen better days. The smell of burnt metal and alien plasma residue filled his small workshop. A cramped space barely large enough for the massive war machine that now dominated every corner. Tools hung from rusted hooks on the walls, and spare parts littered every available surface. This wasn't the kind of place where miracles happened. But Jiho had made a living performing small ones. The Thunderbolt-class battle tank loomed before him like a sleeping giant. Its angular armor plating bore the ugly scars of alien plasma burns, each mark telling a story of desperate battles fought in the outer colonies. The tank's main cannon pointed toward the ceiling. Its barrel cracked near the muzzle. What struck Jiho most was how silent it was. No hum of electronics. No soft glow from its optical sensors. Just dead weight and broken dreams. General Park stepped closer to the tank, his weathered face carved with lines that spoke of too many lost battles. His uniform was clean but worn, the kind of neat appearance that came from military discipline rather than luxury. The old soldier's eyes held a mixture of hope and desperation that Jiho recognized all too well. 72 hours, Jiho, Park, said, his voice carrying the weight of authority, but also something else. Desperation. Maybe. Every alien engineer who's touched this thing has walked away defeated. 3 separate teams from the Zephian Empire tried to crack its systems. The best minds from the Helix Consortium spent 2 weeks on it. All failures. Jiho ran his hand along the tank's cold armor, feeling the rough texture where plasma bolts had melted and reformed the metal. The surface was surprisingly warm to the touch, as if some deep power source still pulsed within. He could sense something alive in there, waiting. "What's the real catch?" Jiho asked, knowing there was always more to these military deals. Park's smile was grim. "Fix it, and the entire military depot on the north side is yours. All the salvage rights, all the equipment, everything. You'll never have to worry about parts or tools again." He paused, letting the offer sink in. "But if you fail, you lose everything. This workshop, your equipment, your certification. The military takes it all to cover the cost of moving this tank here from across the workshop." Minsu dropped the wrench he'd been holding. The clang echoed in the small space as Jiho's oldest friend stared at them both with wide eyes. Minsu had been working on a damaged hoverbike when the general arrived. But now he stood frozen in disbelief. "Don't do it, brother," Minsu said, his voice tight with worry. "That tank has been nothing but trouble since the Battle of Sector 7. I heard the stories from the survivors. The crew went in with 5 men and came out with none. Some say the tank itself went crazy during the fight." Jiho had heard those stories too. Whispers in the mechanic bars about war machines that developed strange behaviors after extended combat, tanks that refused orders, fighters that flew themselves into enemy fire. Mechs that shut down in the middle of battles, the military called it combat stress syndrome in machines. But most mechanics just called it cursed. The alien engineers, Jiho said slowly. What exactly happened when they tried to fix it? General Park's expression darkened. The first team spent 3 days trying to access its main computer core. Every time they got close, the system would purge itself, reset everything. The second team tried to bypass the AI entirely, but the tank's defensive systems activated. No one was hurt, but they couldn't get near it after that. And the third team, they claimed the tank was talking to them, said it was asking for its crew members by name. Park shrugged. Alien psychology is different from ours. Maybe they just couldn't handle the pressure. Minsu walked over, his face creased with concern. Jiho, listen to me. Your sister needs you alive and working. Not dead or broke. Yoonji's treatment is expensive, but there are other ways to get the money. The mention of his sister hit Jiho like a physical blow. Yoonji was only 16, brilliant and full of life, until the alien plague had swept through the colony 6 months ago. The treatments that could save her cost more than Jiho made in 2 years. Every day he delayed, her condition worsened. The doctors had given her maybe 3 months without the advanced therapy only available on the core worlds. Jiho looked at the silent tank again, really seeing it this time. The Thunderbolt class had been humanity's answer to alien armor superiority. Fast, heavily armed, and equipped with AI systems that could adapt to battlefield conditions in real time. This particular tank had seen action in 12 major engagements before Sector 7. It had a kill record that would make any human crew proud. "What's its name?" Jiho asked suddenly. General Park looked surprised. Its designation is TB-7745, but the crew called it Thunder. Thunder? Jiho repeated, the word feeling right somehow. He placed both hands on the tank's hull and felt that strange warmth again. Something was definitely alive in there, waiting for the right person to wake. The workshop fell silent except for the distant hum of the colony's power generators. Jiho thought about Yoonji lying in the medical center, growing weaker each day. He thought about the mountain of bills on his desk and the desperate calls from creditors. Most of all, he thought about the look of trust in his sister's eyes when she told him she knew he'd find a way to help her. Mensu stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Brother, I know you're thinking about Yoonji, but this is suicide. That depot would be amazing. But what good is it if you're dead or homeless?" Jiho nodded slowly, understanding his friend's concern. But sometimes a man had to take impossible risks for the people he loved. Sometimes the only way forward was through the thing that scared you most. He looked at Thunder's dark optical sensors and made his choice. "I'll take the bet." The second day of work brought no sleep and little progress. Jiho's eyes burned from staring at diagnostic screens. His fingers cramped from manipulating delicate circuit boards inside Thunder's massive frame. Empty coffee cups littered his workbench, and the smell of overheated electronics filled the air. He'd been inside the tank's maintenance bay for 16 straight hours, following pathways that led nowhere and chasing ghost signals through Thunder's neural networks. The alien engineers had left their mark everywhere. Crude bypasses hung like scars throughout the system, evidence of their frustrated attempts to force the tank back to life. They'd tried to override everything, replace components that weren't broken, and even attempted to install their own control modules. Jiho pulled out alien circuit boards one by one. Shaking his head at their brute force approach, they treated. "You like a broken toy," he muttered, carefully removing a Zephyr memory core that had been jammed into Thunder's primary processor. "No wonder you shut them out." As he worked deeper into the system, Jiho began to notice patterns that didn't make sense for a simple malfunction. Error logs that repeated the same names over and over. System alerts that triggered at exact time. Intervals, most strange of all. Memory banks that seemed to be actively protecting certain data from access attempts. The breakthrough came at 3 in the morning. Jiho was tracing a neural pathway that connected Thunder's optical sensors to its main processor, when he found something that made him stop breathing. Hidden deep in the tank's memory core was a complete recording of the Battle of Sector 7. Not just tactical data or sensor readings, but everything. Audio communications from the crew, biometric readings, even the tank's own analysis of the hopeless situation they'd found themselves in. Jiho activated the playback and immediately wished he hadn't. The voices of 5 young soldiers filled his workshop, their last moments preserved forever in Thunder's digital memory. Commander Lee's calm orders as alien plasma bolts hammered their position. Gunner Hyenwoo's desperate calls for ammunition as swarms of Helix drones sounded them. Driver Timon's final transmission before alien acid ate through the hull and claimed his life. But what broke Jiho's heart was Thunder's own voice in the recordings. The AI had been trying to save them, calculating escape routes, calling for backup, even attempting to override safety protocols to give the crew better weapons. Thunder had fought harder than any human could have, processing thousands of combat scenarios per second. All in a desperate attempt to keep its crew alive. It had failed. They had all died, and Thunder had been forced to watch every second of it. "You're not just a machine, are you?" Jiho whispered to the silent tank, his voice hoarse with emotion. "You're hurt, for the first time since he'd started working." One of Thunder's optical sensors flickered to life, just for a moment. A soft blue glow that pulsed once and went dark again. But it was enough. Thunder was listening. Jiho spent the rest of the night talking to the tank while he worked. He told Thunder about his own losses, about watching his parents die in the first alien raids, about the fear he carried every day that he might lose Yunji too. He explained why he understood grief, why he knew what it felt like to carry the weight of people you couldn't save. Slowly, carefully, Thunder began to respond, not with words at first, but with small gestures, a sensor adjustment here, a system diagnostic there. The tank was testing Jiho, seeing if this human was different from the others who had tried to fix it. The sun was rising when So Young arrived with breakfast and bad news. She moved quietly through the workshop, her long black hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, carrying a steaming bowl of rice and vegetables that made Jiho realize how hungry he was. "The neighbors are talking," she warned, setting the food beside his workstation. "Alien patrol ships have been circling the colony more frequently. 3 times last night, and twice this morning. That's not normal patrol behavior." Jiho looked up from Thunder's memory core, his mind still processing what he'd learned about the tank's trauma. What kind of ships? Helix Consortium scout vessels, mostly. But Donghan saw a Zephyrian heavy cruiser pass overhead around midnight, the kind they use for troop transport. So Young's face was tight with worry. Something's happening, Jiho. Something big. Through the workshop's grimy windows, Jiho could see the morning sky streaked with distant contrails. Ships were moving up there, more than usual, the kind of military traffic that meant trouble was coming. "How's the work going?" So Young asked, though she could probably tell from his exhausted appearance that it wasn't going well. "Better than expected, actually." Jiho took a bite of rice, feeling warmth spread through his tired body. "Thunder isn't broken. The aliens were trying to fix the wrong problem." "What do you mean?" Jiho gestured at the diagnostic screens surrounding them. "They kept trying to restore factory settings, override the AI's personality, force it back to basic operations. But Thunder doesn't want to be reset. It wants to remember its crew. The grief isn't a malfunction. It's what makes Thunder more than just a weapon." So Young studied the tank's silent form with no eyes. "You're saying it has feelings. I'm saying it has purpose." Thunder fought alongside those soldiers for 2 years. They weren't just operators to it. They were partners, friends, maybe. When they died, part of Thunder died too. Jiho stood and placed his hand on the tank's hull. The alien engineers couldn't understand that because they build their machines to be disposable. But humans, we build relationships. With our tools, our vehicles, our weapons. We make them part of the family. A soft vibration ran through Thunder's frame, and several status lights flickered in what almost looked like acknowledgement. So Young stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Jiho, there's something else. Minsu heard rumors at the parts market yesterday. People are saying General Park isn't just trying to prove human engineering is better than alien tech. They're saying he's planning something that requires a working Thunderbolt tank. Jiho barely looked up from his work, but his hands slowed on the circuit board he was installing. He'd sensed there was more to this job than a simple repair contract. The desperation in General Park's eyes had been too real, too urgent for just a matter of military pride. "What kind of something?" he asked. "The kind where having the most advanced battle tank in human space might be the difference between victory and defeat," So Young replied. "The kind where a grieving AI might be exactly what the Resistance needs to fight back against the occupation." Thunder's sensors glowed brighter this time, holding their blue light for several seconds before dimming again. The tank was definitely listening. Jiho had the distinct feeling it approved of what it was hearing. Outside, another alien patrol ship crossed the sky, its engines leaving a red trail against the morning clouds. Time was running out for all of them. The morning of the third day brought a breakthrough that changed everything. Jiho was deep inside Thunder's main processing unit when the tank's voice spoke for the first time. Not through speakers, but directly into his neural interface headset. The sound was surprisingly gentle, like distant thunder rolling across summer hills. "Hello, Jiho," Thunder said, its voice carrying traces of sadness, but also curiosity. "You're different from the others who tried to repair me." Jiho nearly dropped his circuit probe in surprise. "Thunder, you can talk. I could always talk. The others never listened." There was a pause, filled with the soft hum of processing power. "They wanted to erase my memories of Commander Lee and the crew. They said my grief was a malfunction that needed to be removed." "Your grief isn't broken," Jiho said firmly, his hands continuing their careful work on Thunder's neural pathways. "It's what makes you real. What makes you more than just a machine." "I tried to save them," Thunder whispered, and Jiho could hear the pain in the AI's voice. "I calculated 17,000 possible escape routes during that battle. None of them worked. The Helix swarm was too large, their acid weapons too effective against our armor." As Thunder spoke, data began flowing across Jiho's screens. Battle recordings, tactical analyses, detailed breakdowns of alien weaknesses that no human had ever seen before. Thunder had been collecting intelligence during every engagement, studying enemy patterns with the patience only a machine could possess. "Look at this," Thunder said, highlighting a section of video from the Sector 7 battle. "Helix drone ships have a blind spot exactly to 0.7 seconds after they fire their main weapons. Their targeting systems need time to recalibrate. Human pilots never noticed because human reaction times aren't fast enough to exploit it." Jiho watched in amazement as Thunder showed him weakness after weakness in alien designs. Zephyrian plasma cannons overheated if fired more than 6 times in succession. Helix armor had microfractures that appeared predictably after taking kinetic impacts. Even the massive void leviathans had behavioral patterns that could be exploited by a clever tactician. "They treated you like broken equipment," Jiho said, his hands moving expertly over Thunder's neural pathways, installing new connections that would let the AI access all its combat systems again. "But you're not equipment at all. You're a warrior, aren't you?" "I was built to protect humans," Thunder replied, and for the first time, there was pride in its voice. "Every battle taught me something new about how to fight our enemies. Every loss showed me how to prevent the next one. I have 2 years of combat experience stored in my memory banks." But no one ever asked me what I learned. The work progressed faster now that Thunder was actively helping. The AI guided Jiho to damaged components, explained which alien modifications could be safely removed, and even suggested improvements to its own design. By afternoon, Most of Thunder's major systems were online and functioning better than factory specifications. The alien engineers made one critical mistake. Thunder explained as Jiho worked on the targeting system. They assumed I wanted to forget my crew, but my memories of them aren't holding me back. They're driving me forward every time I think of Commander Lee's bravery or Timon's loyalty. I remember why I fight. As the sun began to set, Jiho made the final connections to Thunder's main weapon systems for the first time since Sector 7. The tank's primary cannon moved, tracking smoothly across its full range of motion. Status lights that had been dark for months now glowed with steady green power. Weapon systems online, Thunder reported, and there was satisfaction in its voice. Defensive grid activated, sensors at full sensitivity. I feel complete again. Jiho climbed out of the maintenance hatch, exhausted but elated. How do you feel about getting back into combat? Ready, Thunder said simply. More than ready. I have scores to settle with the creatures that killed my friends. That night, as Jiho was cleaning his tools and preparing to head home, Thunder's sensors suddenly flared to life. Jiho, we have company for individuals approaching the workshop. They're carrying weapons and moving in tactical formation through the workshop's windows. Jiho could see shadowy figures creeping between the buildings. They wore no uniforms, but their movements were too coordinated to be random thieves. These were professionals, and they were heading straight for Thunder. Collaborators, Jiho breathed. Humans who worked for the alien occupation forces, either for money or out of fear. They must have heard I was close to getting you operational. Get behind me, Thunder ordered, its main cannon swiveling toward the workshop entrance. I will not let them harm you. The first saboteur kicked in the door, raising some kind of alien energy weapon. He never got the chance to fire it. Thunder's point defense lasers, small but precise weapons designed to shoot down incoming missiles, tracked the intruder with mechanical precision and fired a single pulse that sent him diving for cover. Warning shots, Thunder announced calmly. The next ones won't miss. 2 more saboteurs tried to rush the workshop from different angles. But Thunder's sensors tracked them easily through the thin walls. Laser fire erupted from multiple points on the tank's hull, forcing the attackers to retreat behind whatever cover they could find. The precision was incredible. Each shot placed exactly where it needed to be to disable rather than kill. I could end this in seconds, Thunder told Jiho quietly. But I remember what Commander Lee taught me about showing mercy when possible. These humans are misguided, not evil. The firefight lasted only minutes. Faced with a fully operational Thunderbolt tank's defensive systems, the saboteurs quickly realized they were outmatched. Jiho watched through the workshop windows as they retreated into the night, probably to report their failure to whoever had sent them. Mensu arrived just as the excitement was dying down, his hover bike skidding to a stop outside the workshop. He took one look at the scorch marks on the walls and the satisfied gleam in Jiho's eyes and started laughing. Let me guess, Mensu said, looking up at Thunder's now active sensor array. Your new friend doesn't like uninvited guests, I think. We understand each other now, Jiho told Thunder, patting the tank's armored hull affectionately. Thunder's main sensor focused on him with what almost seemed like warmth. Indeed we do, partner. We make a good team. From somewhere in the distance came the sound of alien patrol ships, their engines creating an ominous harmony in the night sky. But for the first time since taking General Park's wager, Jiho felt truly confident. Thunder wasn't just repaired, it was reborn together. They were ready for whatever came next. The tank's weapon systems hummed with quiet power. No longer the silent monument to defeat it had been 3 days ago, but a living weapon with the experience of a veteran, and the determination of the grieving. The aliens had created their own worst nightmare by trying to suppress Thunder's memories instead of understanding them. Now they would learn the true meaning of human engineering, and the bond between a mechanic and his machine. The morning of the deadline arrived with unusual activity in the sky above the colony. Geo counted at least 12 different spacecraft moving in formation high overhead, their contrails creating geometric patterns against the dawn clouds. These weren't the usual alien patrol ships, but sleek human vessels that he'd never seen before. Something big was definitely happening. Inside the workshop, Thunder's systems hummed with perfect efficiency. Every diagnostic screen showed green lights. Every weapon system responded flawlessly to commands, and the tanks I was more alert and responsive than Jiho had ever imagined possible. They had done it with 6 hours to spare. "How do you feel, partner?" Jiho asked, running his final system checks. "Like I'm ready to take on the entire Helix fleet." Thunder replied, its voice carrying a confidence that hadn't been there 3 days ago. "My combat systems are operating at 127% of original specifications. The improvements you made to my neural pathways have increased my processing speed by 40%. I'm better than I was when I first rolled off the assembly line." General Park arrived exactly on schedule, but he wasn't alone. 3 other military officers accompanied him, along with 2 civilians in expensive suits who looked completely out of place in Jiho's grimy workshop. One of them carried a briefcase that seemed to gleam with its own inner light, clearly containing advanced technology. "Gentlemen," Park announced, "meet the mechanic who accomplished what 3 alien engineering teams could not, the lead civilian." A middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and graying hair stepped forward with obvious interest. "I'm Director Kim from Lockheed Martin's Advanced Defense Division. We've been monitoring this project very closely." "Mr. Jiho, monitoring how?" Jiho asked, suddenly aware that his simple repair job might be part of something much larger. "Those spacecraft you've been seeing overhead aren't just casual observers," General Park explained. "They're equipped with sensors that have been recording every aspect of your work with Thunder. The corporate sector has been very interested in your unique approach to AI rehabilitation." Director Kim nodded toward Thunder, whose optical sensors were tracking the conversation with obvious attention. "We'd like to run a standard operational test, if you don't mind, just to verify that the repairs are complete." "Of course," Jiho said, but something in Thunder's behavior made him hesitate. The tank's main sensor had focused intently on the strangers, and its weapon systems were showing subtle signs of activation. General Park walked over to Thunder's communication panel and began entering commands. "Thunder, this is General Park. Please respond with a full system status report." Nothing happened. Thunder's sensors remained focused on Jiho, completely ignoring the General's commands. Park tried again, this time using his command override. "Codes, Thunder. This is a direct order from your commanding officer. Acknowledge and comply." Still nothing, if anything. Thunder seemed to be actively resisting the General's attempts to establish communication. "Is there a problem with the repair?" Director Kim asked, her voice carrying a hint of disappointment. "No problem at all," Jiho said, finally understanding what was happening. "Thunder, please show our guests that you're fully operational." Immediately, Thunder's systems came alive. The main cannon moved smoothly through its full range of motion. The defensive weapons tracked imaginary targets with mechanical precision, and status displays lit up with perfect green indicators. The demonstration was flawless and impressive. "Interesting," Director Kim observed. "The AI has bonded with its new operator. That's actually better than we hoped." General Park was smiling now, and Jiho realized this had been the plan all along. "Perfect," Park said, producing a data pad that looked far more sophisticated than anything the colonial military typically use. Lockheed Martin has been watching. Jiho. They want you as their chief xenotech engineer. Jiho took the data pad, with hands that trembled slightly. The contract terms displayed on the screen were beyond anything he'd ever imagined. The base salary alone was enough to pay for Yunji's treatment 10 times over. But that was just the beginning. There were bonuses for successful projects, research grants, access to corporate medical facilities, and housing allowances that would let him move his sister to the best treatment centers in human spas. There's a whole fleet of unfixable human war machines waiting for someone with your touch, Director Kim explained. 73 combat vehicles that have been written off as total losses, mechs that won't respond to commands, fighter ships that refuse to fly, even a few capital ship AI systems that have gone completely silent. The military has spent billions trying to repair them using traditional methods. So Young, who had been quietly watching from the corner of the workshop, moved closer and squeezed Jiho's hand as he read through the contract details. Her eyes were wide with amazement at the numbers on the screen. The corporate medical plan covers family members, Director Kim added, noticing So Young's presence. Your sister would have access to the most advanced treatments available, including experimental therapies that aren't available in the colonies. Jiho felt his heart racing. This was the miracle he'd been hoping for, the chance to save Yunji, and maybe even make a real difference in the war against the alien occupation. But there was one condition that mattered more than all the money and benefits combined. Thunder comes with me, Jiho said firmly, his voice carrying no room for negotiation. General Park nodded immediately. Wouldn't have it any other way. Thunder is part of the package. In fact, we're hoping that your partnership will serve as a model for how humans should work with our most advanced war machines. The aliens treat their technology as disposable tools, Director Kim explained. But you've proven that human-built AI systems can form genuine partnerships with their operators. That kind of bond could be the decisive advantage we need to turn the tide of this war. Thunder's voice came through the workshop speakers, calm and confident. I would be honored to continue serving alongside Jiho together. We can help other war machines remember what they were built to protect. The second civilian, who had been silent until now, opened his briefcase and pulled out what looked like a small holographic projector. The device activated automatically, displaying a three-dimensional map of human space with dozens of red indicators, scattered across various star systems. Each of those markers represents a damaged or non-responsive war machine, he explained. Some have been offline for years. Others were damaged in recent battles and abandoned because repair seemed impossible. With your techniques, we estimate that 60 to 70% of them could be restored to active service. Jiho studied the holographic display with growing excitement. Each red marker represented not just a machine, but a potential partner. Like Thunder, AI systems that had been written off as broken when they were really just traumatized or misunderstood. When do we start? Jiho asked. Immediately, Director Kim replied. There's a transport waiting at the spaceport to take you to our primary research facility on Luna. Your sister can be transferred to the medical center there within 48 hours. And treatment can begin as soon as she arrives. So Yon leaned closer to Jiho, her voice barely a whisper. This is it. This is how we save her. Thunder's sensors had been tracking the entire conversation. And now the tank's voice carried a tone of eager anticipation. Jiho, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from those ships overhead. They're not just transport vessels, they're mobile repair facilities. We're going to help a lot of our mechanical brothers and sisters remember what it means to be alive. Through the workshop windows, Jiho could see the sleek corporate ships descending toward the spaceport. Their advanced engines silent and efficient. The future was calling. And for the first time in months, it looked bright. All right, Jiho said, looking round at his humble workshop one last time. Let's go wake up some sleeping giants. The loading of Thunder onto the massive Lockheed Martin transport ship was almost complete when the first alien ships appeared on the horizon. Jiho was standing in the cargo bay, watching technicians secure Thunder's restraints. When emergency sirens began wailing across the colony, the sound made his blood run cold. "Contact," shouted one of the transport crew, pointing toward the eastern sky. Multiple hostile signatures inbound. Estimate 47 vessels, mixed Helix and Zephyrian forces. Through the transport's massive cargo doors, Jiho could see the alien fleet approaching like a dark storm cloud. Helix drone ships moved in perfect geometric formations, their acid green, hulls gleaming in the afternoon sun. Behind them came the larger Zephyrian plasma cruisers, their angular designs cutting through the air with predatory grace. They're jamming communications. Director Kim said, her face pale as she studied her. Tactical display. No way to call for reinforcements. The colony's defenses won't last 10 minutes against that kind of firepower. Thunder's optical sensors focused on Jiho with urgent intensity. Partner. I'm detecting massive energy buildups from the approaching fleet. They're preparing to glass the entire settlement. We have maybe 3 minutes before they're in firing range. Jiho's mind raced. 3 minutes wasn't enough time to get the transport airborne. And even if they could, the alien ships would shoot them down before they cleared the atmosphere. The colony's few defensive guns were ancient models that couldn't even scratch modern alien armor. Wait, Jiho said suddenly, remembering something from his work over the past few days. Thunder. When I was checking the military depot's inventory, I saw 3 of the war machines listed as irreparable. Where are they now? Hangar 7, approximately 2 kilometers from here. Thunder replied immediately. To Thunderbolt tanks like myself and one Valkyrie-class assault mech. All have been offline since various battles over the past year. An idea began forming in Jiho's mind. Desperate, but possible. Can you establish communication with them? Use the same frequency we've been using. Attempting contact now. Thunder said. After a moment that felt like an eternity, 3 new voices joined the conversation. They sounded weak, confused, but alive. "This is Hammer," came the first response, a deep voice filled with pain. "Who's calling?" "I thought everyone had forgotten about us, Storm here," said another. This one female and carrying traces of bitter anger. "Been sitting in the dark for 8 months. Someone finally remembered we exist." The third voice was different. Mechanical but somehow elegant. Valkyrie operational, systems damaged but functional. "Are we needed, brothers and sisters?" Thunder said, his voice carrying warmth and authority. "I'm Thunder, recently awakened by a human who understands what we really are. Our colony is under attack. Will you fight alongside me?" The response was immediate and fierce. "Give us targets." Hammer growled. "I've been dreaming of payback. Just point me at the enemy." Storm added, "I remember who killed my crew. Valkyria. Ready for combat." The assault mech reported, all weapon systems charging. Jiho grabbed a communication headset and ran toward Thunder. "Everyone, listen carefully. I know you've been hurt. I know you've lost crews you cared about. But right now, dozens of innocent people are about to die unless we stop those ships." General Park was shouting orders to the transport crew, trying to organize some kind of evacuation, but Jiho ignored him. Instead, he climbed into Thunder's operator compartment, feeling the familiar sensation of the neural interface connecting with his thoughts. Thunder Show them what we've learned together, Jiho said. Not just tactics or targeting data, but what it means to be partners instead of just operator and machine. Thunder's communication systems flared to life, and Jiho felt the tank sharing everything they'd discovered over the past 3 days. The joy of working together, the strength that came from mutual trust, the way human intuition could complement machine precision to create something greater than either could achieve alone. The other war machines fell silent as they absorbed Thunder's memories and experiences. When they spoke again, their voices had changed, becoming stronger and more determined. I understand now, Hammer said. We're not just weapons. We're guardians, partners, Storm agreed. Like we were always meant to be, activating all systems. Valkyria reported. Moving to intercept positions through Thunder's sensors, Jiho watched the 3 war machines come alive across the colony. Hammer and Storm rolled out of their storage hangar with weapons charging, while Valkyria's humanoid form rose to its full 12-meter height. Assault cannons extending from its arms like the wings of an avenging angel, the alien fleet was. Close enough now that Jiho could see individual ships with his naked eyes. Helix drones were already beginning their attack runs, diving toward the colony's civilian sectors with characteristic ruthlessness. Thunder, take us out there, Jiho commanded. Let's show them what human engineering can really do. Thunder's engines roared to life as the restraints released automatically. The tank rolled out of the transport at full speed, its tracks throwing up clouds of dust as they accelerated toward the battle zone. The first engagement happened fast. A squadron of Helix drones swooped down on the colony's school district, their acid weapons charging for an attack that would have killed hundreds of children. But Thunder was ready for them. Targeting solution acquired, Thunder announced, exploiting the 2.7-second vulnerability window after weapon discharge. Thunder's main cannon fired with perfect timing, catching the lead drone in its blind spot and sending it spiraling into the ground in a ball of green flame. The other drones scattered, but Storm and Hammer were waiting for them, their weapons tracking with mechanical precision while their human-trained intuition predicted enemy movements. The battle that followed was unlike anything the aliens had expected. Instead of facing predictable military machines following programmed responses, they encountered war machines that adapted, learned, and fought with the creativity that came from genuine partnership with their human operators. Valkyria danced between the larger Zephyrian cruisers like a giant warrior from ancient legends, its assault cannons finding weak points in alien armor that had never been exploited before. The mech's movements were fluid and graceful, combining machine efficiency with something that looked almost like artistic expression. Thunder coordinated the entire defense, sharing tactical data in real time, while Jiho provided the human insight that turned good plans into brilliant ones. When the aliens tried to adapt to their tactics, Jiho would suggest new approaches that no programmed response could have anticipated. They're pulling back, Storm reported after 20 minutes of intense combat. Remaining ships are retreating toward the upper atmosphere. The alien fleet that had seemed so overwhelming was now reduced to fewer than half its original numbers, the survivors fleeing in confusion from an enemy they couldn't understand or predict. As the last alien ships disappeared beyond the horizon, before war machines gathered in the colony's central square, their armor was scorched and battle-scarred, but their voices carried satisfaction and pride. That felt good, Hammer said. Really good. Like remembering who I used to be. Better than who I used to be, Storm corrected. We're stronger now. We know what we're fighting for. General Park approached Thunder with obvious amazement. In 30 years of military service, I've never seen anything like that. You didn't just defeat them. You completely outclassed them. When the smoke cleared, General Park placed a hand on Jiho's shoulder as he climbed out of Thunder's operator compartment. The war isn't over, but today proved something important. We don't just build weapons, we create allies. Jiho looked at Thunder's optical sensor as it focused on him with what almost seemed like affection. Round them, the other war machines were already discussing plans for future battles, their voices carrying the confidence of warriors who had remembered their purpose, ready for the next adventure. "Partner," Jiho asked. Thunder's response came through the comm system in a voice that somehow conveyed both strength and loyalty. "Ready. Jiho, let's show them what humans and their machines can do together." Director Kim was standing beside the transport, her expression mixing professional admiration with genuine awe. "The lunar facility has 73 more machines waiting for someone. With your touch, after today's demonstration, I think we're going to need all of them operational as quickly as possible." As their transport lifted off toward Luna an hour later, Jiho watched the colony shrinking below them. Thunder was secured in the cargo bay again. But now 3 other war machines were loaded alongside him. Hammer, Storm, and Valkyria had volunteered to join the program, eager to help their mechanical brothers and sisters remember what it meant to be alive. "Jiho," Thunder said quietly through his headset, "thank you for showing me that grief doesn't have to mean the end. Sometimes it can be the beginning of something better." Jiho smiled, thinking about Yunji waiting for treatment, about the dozens of damaged war machines they would soon help heal, and about the war that suddenly seemed much more winnable. Sometimes the best repairs weren't about fixing what was broken, but about healing what was wounded, and sometimes the strongest partnerships were forged not in victory, but in the shared understanding of loss and the determination to prevent others from suffering the same pain. The end.